Hello, everyone. This is Tikva from Homeopathy for Humanity, joined by Sanjay of Homeopathy for Humanity. Today, we
Hi.
are going to discuss Aphorisms 30 and 31.
Yeah. We have screen share. Can you read it?
Barely.
Can you able to read?
Yep, I can see it.
Yeah.
Yep, so we are going through.
Dr. Sandhya, can you read? Means, can you able to read?
Yes, sir.
Means, I am
Shall I
just
read?
asking. No, I am just asking whether it is readable.
Yeah, easy is a readable, sir.
Kind of a nice screen share. I did something a little different today, and you'll see that it's going to be a little bit of a surprise. Okay, so we're getting into Aphorism 30. And Aphorism 30 starts bringing us to susceptibility and the fact that we are the driver of the car when we use potentized medicine, to use a metaphor. So Aphorism 30 says, the human body appears to admit to being much more powerfully affected in its health by medicine, partly because we have the regulation of the dose in our own power. This is very, very important. It has to do with the dynamic action being stronger in a potentized medicine. That includes titration and succussion. Then by natural morbid stimuli. By stimuli, Hahnemann here or Moriki means that it's what stimulates the vital force. It's what stimuli are the things that can affect the vital force. So, because not everything is pathogen.
He's talking about, he is talking about the things that triggers the disease state. Means in short, he's talking about the medicines are more powerful than the disease.
Yep, a stimulus is something that causes something to happen.
Yeah, but a natural morbid stimulus means he's talking about the factors that cause disease. Means he's talking about disease in short. For the natural disease. Huh?
Oh, I was just going to say that there can be a lot of different morbid stimuli. It can be pathogens, it can be stress, it can be toxins. There are a lot of
Yeah, right. He's talking about whatever natural morbid stimulus means whatever the factors that cause disease and medicines which cures this disease. Actually, these are more stronger than the natural diseases because we have the control of medicines in the form of potencies. We can control, we can drive wherever we have to drive this force. The process, the cure, the symptoms which we have to focus. The more life-threatening symptoms, more irritable symptoms means what we'll call bothersome symptoms like that. We can focus on, it's not like that we give medicine and medicine going on its own according to the susceptibility of the person. Yes, it definitely acts according to the susceptibility. But as we have that potencies, we can change their strength and control their action to where they have to act exactly. That's how, and natural diseases needs condition. They are totally dependent upon the how the body's susceptibility is. They cannot what you call act on each and every individual unconditionally. They need condition. But medicines, they do not need conditions. They will act in each and every individual to whom you are giving the medicine. And yes,
And that's
they
how we
will,
get provings.
yeah.
Without that, we wouldn't be able to get proving data. Medicines act unconditionally, but disease acts conditionally.
Yeah.
The body is more powerfully affected by the potentized medicine because we can regulate the power.
Mm-hmm. I think there is something below.
Yeah, just what I just said, just the summary.
Mm-hmm.
That titration and succussion makes things really powerful. And we can overcome the natural disease much easier. And then we
Now
have a
there is a
long
footnote.
footnote. Yes, long footnote. Therefore, we definitely need the, what's it called? PDF. The short duration of the action of the artificial morbific forces, which means the medicine, which we term medicines, makes it possible that although they are stronger than the natural diseases, they can yet be much more easily overcome by the vital force than the weaker natural diseases, which solely in consequence of the longer, generally lifelong duration of their action, cholera, syphilis, psychosis, can never be vanquished and extinguished by it alone until the physician affects the vital force in a stronger manner by an agent that produces a disease very similar but stronger, to wit, a homeopathic medicine. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The cures of diseases of many years duration, we refer to aphorism 46, by the occurrence of smallpox and measles, both of which run a course of only a few weeks, are processes of similar character. Natural disease can last forever unless we apply a dynamic medicine that is stronger, yet very similar. The aphorism 46. Okay, but when we talk about natural disease can last forever, you have, generally speaking, you have a chronic disease behind that. For example, when you have somebody who's had flu and they've never been well since, that means that they have spora or another one of the chronic diseases in the background of that acute. And so it's not just really that the flu lasts forever or that long COVID is coronavirus forever. It's really that there's something has happened that has occurred inside the body that the person has never been well since, and that was a trigger. There was recently information that came out in the medical journals about what they're calling long COVID. They think that the coronavirus is reactivating Epstein-Barr. And people have a pretty good idea that it's Epstein-Barr that causes a lot of never well sits type of illnesses in the body. But then really, but as a homeopath, we would look at something like Epstein-Barr would trigger latent spora become active spora. And then if you're looking at things like German new medicine, what you're looking at is people getting stuck in recovery. So there's a lot of different facets and a lot of different ways to look at illness. But the fact that we can produce a very similar, stronger medicine that will cure the disease is what is the, the main point.
Yeah. I can just simply explain this process of the chronic disease. Whatever you have said, it's something like that the patient or a person holds his constitution, his own susceptibility, the way he reacts, way he responds to external stimulus. They can be a natural stimulus, they can be a morbid stimulus. He responds to both in the similar way, the way he is. And what happens once he has been infected with the natural disease? And what happens then? He will get disease. Disease will develop inside the body. Now, his constitution, his susceptibility, his sensitivity, his function of all body parts will change according to this underlying disease state. Whatever is formed a disease state is totally dependent the way how his body is body make or constitutionally or susceptibility. Or now this chronic, why we call it chronic disease, because it will it's not going by itself. It will continue to stay in that person forever unless it is not treated with the proper homeopathic remedies. It will shorten the lifespan of the person. So now imagine there is no concept in homeopathy. People need to understand the people are infected once in a lifetime. There is no concept like that. Every time he encounters the infection, they will receive the infection. But earlier, there was a clean body, his own constitutions, his own susceptibility. But now, that susceptibility has been changed to some extent due to the internal disease. And whatever ground is getting for this new infection will create more complex things or more, it will change disease to what do you call, at another level. it will make disease more deeper or more complex and complex and complex. It will change the picture of internal disease. So there are chances, most likely chances, the people are infected multiple times with this natural morbid disease producing stimulus. And every time they're being infected, it will change the way the body functions, the way the body have sensations. Either it can be a natural form or it can be a disease form. It will change that state. So whatever we are getting at the surface at this time can be the result of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. How many times the patient may have been encountered the infection. It can be a sore every time. Maximum time. And it can be superadded with the venereal if he gets into encounters with the infection. Those symptoms will keep adding. Not adding, or they will change the way body functions. That's all. I think it's clear. Or I think it has made more complex the whatever ideas people are having. Hello?
Yeah, Hahnemann's ideas are very basic and it's pretty clear as people over time who have made things a lot more complex.
You can just imagine, you can just have a glass of water, a clear glass of water. You can consider that glass of water as a natural body, and then you can add every infection will give the color. For example, you can put a green color. It will turn the whole water into green. Then the functions and sensations will be according to whatever the content it is. Now, second time, you can add a blue, a new infection. Green and blue, what it will give? It will give something brownish or something like that, dark color. And then the body will start functioning accordingly. Whatever the background color is of the functions. Now Hahnemann is teaching us how to remove those layer by layer. You might need antisoric every time, multiple times in the series. Whatever the picture you are getting in the form of return of symptoms.
Yeah, and also, there's lots of lifestyle situations that add to disease frequently.
They are making the person susceptible from continual lifestyle. You are continuous in the environment. Your body will start functioning accordingly. You may be susceptible for certain factors. We can say, we know that when a drop of water falls on a stone, that makes no difference at all. But if it continues to put a drop by at the same point for years, months, then years to, and after some time that will lay that impression of the water stream or water drop on the stone. Same we can see with the body. You are living in the harsh environment. Probably you will not get affected in the first week or the first month, but gradually that environment will start affecting your health. After a month or 6 or 1 year or 2 years, those factors are making you sick from the susceptibility. And natural disease, infections are other stimulus. These are two, lifestyle and natural diseases are two different parts. But what homeopath need to understand from this aphorism? We have a weapon in your hand. So we need to learn how to use it. And that weapon you can use in whatever type of disease there is. Means your enemy is on the opposite side. You have small pellets, you have big bullets, you have bomb, you have atom bomb, everything. And you have to hit a right power for a right intensity of the disease. Or some people may say, just you can pick an atom bomb to hit a mosquito. That is a foolish thing. Do you think like that?
Yeah, that's a bad plan.
That's the plan. So you have number of potencies, dynamizations. You know the methods. You know how the potencies work on each and every symptom intensity. And you need to learn the way and how to use these potencies for the disease symptom. Hahnemann says in this aphorism, only because of these potencies or because of this dynamization that makes medicine more stronger than the disease, natural disease producing stimulus or natural disease. Natural disease needs condition because not everyone gets the disease by getting wet in the rain. Only some will.
And only some will sometimes, not every time.
Not every time, right? So,
because it's not unconditional.
yeah, this conditional. Natural disease will occur conditional. It needs condition. It needs ground. It needs susceptibility of that. But medicines.
I like to call it the perfect storm, where all the different things have to add up together at once
to form. Yeah.
Yeah, true. To make the person sick, you have to have all the components come together in just the right way before somebody will actually get sick. Otherwise, we'd be in terrible shape.
And medicine works unconditionally. They don't need condition. It will work. Yes, it will produce symptom in individual the way he is, but it will work on each and every individual unconditionally. Every individual might give some different symptoms.
Yeah, that's how we get differences in proving data. Proving data is how the medicine acts unconditionally. Every once in a while, we see in the proving data that there's a cured symptom. That would mean that that person needed that medicine and it cured the symptom. So medicine acts unconditionally in almost everybody, but not exactly everybody. Because when we're doing a proving, occasionally somebody will not respond to the proving medicine. And in that case, we know they're not susceptible at all to that substance, which is interesting. Okay, so now we're at aphorism 31. The immunicable forces, partly psychical, partly physical, to which our terrestrial existence is exposed, which are termed morbific, noxious agents, do not possess the power of morbidly deranging the health of man unconditionally. Okay, so he's saying immunicable. And then he says partly psychical. That means psychic, that means having to do with the mind. So the emotions can play a part. Partly physical, the terrain of the body or the genetic makeup, all these different things, or even what we've been eating recently, can be physical, to which our terrestrial existence is exposed. Now, the words terrestrial means our time here on earth as people. Terra means earth. So our terrestrial existence, that means as human beings. But we know, obviously, that homeopathy works on animals and plants as well, which also have a terrestrial existence. So he's saying the immunicable forces, the bad things, partly psychical, partly physical, to which our terrestrial existence is exposed, which are called morbific, noxious agents, do not possess the power of morbidly deranging the health of man unconditionally. But we are made ill by them only when our organism is sufficiently disposed and susceptible to attack of the morbific cause that may be present. And to be altered in its health, deranged, and made to undergo abnormal sensations and functions. Hence, they do not produce disease in everyone, nor at all time.
Yeah, we have explained unknowingly in the earlier part. In the first aphorism, Hahnemann talks about how the medicines are more stronger than the natural disease. And now in this aphorism, Hahnemann talks about how natural diseases are.
Yeah. Elsewhere, Hahnemann says some very interesting things about susceptibility. He says, for example, if there is an epidemic, that the epidemic can make somebody sick simply by them reading that there is an epidemic, that there is something dangerous. So just that warning that, there may be flu in the neighborhood, or that there is a virus that is sweeping the earth, that itself, just reading that, can predispose somebody to becoming sick. So Hahnemann says in his lesser writings that it is extremely dangerous for health departments to put up signs saying that there is a risk of contagion, a risk of infection. He says that this here can even just cause the person to be susceptible to the infection. So this whole catastrophe of the last few years with the coronavirus is very much part of that. Fear breeding disease, making people mentally and emotionally susceptible to getting disease. It's part of that perfect storm, because the morbific cause, when it alters health and when the abnormal sensations and functions occur, it doesn't happen with everybody all the time. A person needs to be susceptible to mental and emotional stress and or pathogens or toxins, etc. There's a lot of different things that can make people sick. You know, you can't just use poison and not expect to get sick, right? You're just going to get sick from poison if you're susceptible. And there are things that people are more susceptible to than other things. I mean, you can't just go out and, you know, use radiation constantly. You can't just stand next to the X-ray machine and not expect anything to happen over and over and over again. So anyway, it's not always pathogens, but morbific noxious agents can mean a lot of different things. It's whatever can make somebody sick. Okay, but a person needs to be susceptible to mental and emotional stress and or morbific noxious agents before they can get sick from these things. Not everyone who's exposed gets sick. Only when they are vulnerable, getting sick. And the word susceptible means easily influenced or harmed by something.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's a lot of different things about how susceptible somebody's going to be is based on a lot of different things. I mean, like a virus might have, might infect. Let me give it a concrete example that Kahneman gives. When it comes to rabies, he says either, I think, 1 in 11 or 1 in 12 that has been exposed and bitten by a rabid animal will actually get sick. So not only do not all people be susceptible at the same time, but the strength of the pathogen also varies. And there's, you know, like varieties of types of poisons in the environment. For example, you know, cleaning with some bleach might be mildly toxic, but spraying people with, you know, agricultural chemicals might be more toxic.
Yeah. Sandhya, any questions?
Hello. Hello. I'm audible?
Yeah.
Yeah. Means just like a diabetes mellitus or some infections. These are the responsible for the SORA, or this is a complex of SORA?
Actually, disease, when we talk about disease state in general, totally disease, whatever it is, except acute just randomly wipe out the every individual or get infected, like we see in coronavirus. A chronic disease, it will need a condition. And
The acute needs condition. How many
life,
times do we see somebody that got corona, only one person in the house come down with it, or 2 people, but the rest of the people won't? There's always a component of susceptibility in both acute and chronic disease, because not everybody exposed gets sick.
yeah. Susceptibility is one factor. Then disease can be acute and it can be a chronic. Now, when we want to talk about only a name a chronic disease, it's Hahnemann talks under the name of chronic disease about this caused by amyism. But when he talks about the disease state, he talks about everything. He talks about lifestyle, he talks about surroundings, he talks about. We learn that part in the aphorism. Which one? 5.
Okay.
So, sora or psychosis or syphilis. Basically, whatever disease, these are diseases, chronic diseases caused by acquired infections. So, one is venereal, which leads to psychosis or syphilis, as according to the infection. And another is non-venereal, which is sora. If the infection is venereal and if the infection is non-venereal. Now we know when there is an infection of non-venereal in the background, it is most dangerous because it is more contagious. It becomes more contagious because it spread only with the touch. It doesn't need conditions. It's from environment or it's from surrounding of the individual. So there is a chance of getting this non-venereal infection right when the person is about to born. From that time, anytime there is a chances of infection. But venereal infection, you will need some conditions. It need a sexual contact. Unless sexual contact, venereal infection will never happen. Or is there any condition which cause this infection of venereal form? So you are talking about a diabetes mellitus.
Yeah.
So what do you think at the background? Means how much chances it should be to have a venereal infection?
No chances.
Or each and every person who had venereal infection to land into a diabetic form? Almost nil. There is no chance. But there is always a chance to have and non-venereal infection in the background. We see in the aphorism 80 or we see in the chronic disease, there Hahnemann has given a list of names from small each to a dreadful cancer fall under head of sora, alone. The word he writes, alone. Do you remember, Tikwa?
Yep. There's a very long list of ailments that are associated with the infection.
So we need to make it clear. See how I see at the disease. I don't think that this disease will cause by syphilis, or this disease will cause by sora, or this disease is caused by psychosis. I don't see disease like that in the present, whatever. Look at the cause. If you see the venereal cause in the background, you need to treat accordingly. You need to pick medicine from this box.
Okay.
If there is a no, see, whatever the disease the person is having is evolution from whatever miasm he has in the background and whatever susceptibility he holds together. Like Tikwa said, a perfect storm needs condition. Everything in the proper format. And however the format is there in that particular person, that way the disease will give out its presentation in the form of signs and symptoms.
So that means we should more focus on the symptoms and sign and cause.
Exactly.
Not focus on too much. Just prepare the mind that this is a sora, this is a syphilis, or this is
no need, absolutely
first
no
we have
need.
to identify the cause and sign and symptom where we are going.
First, we have to just look at whatever totality of symptoms are there. Under whatever name of disease, if you looking at the names, then don't look at that it is sora symptom or it is psychosis symptom. Every miasm will give same symptoms. You will see itching in the sora, you will see itching in the psychosis, you will see itching in the syphilis, you will see even cancers in the sora, psychosis and syphilis. All three miasm will have same symptoms. That actually we need to understand. Symptoms, yes, there will be certain format, but you will see all the symptoms in all three miasms, in all the possible intensity. Then there will be confusion if you have the clear idea. You get the totality, then you get look at the cause. If you see a venereal cause, then he give you a guideline how to treat. If you he gave the different box of remedies to begin with. If you don't have that venereal cause, then it is non-venereal. And he told, if it is a non-venereal, then you have to look at this another box of remedies.
But we can't get too fixated on the box, because sometimes people with an acute will need mercurius for their throat ailment or something else.
Exactly.
So, and they don't have a sexually transmitted disease.
So that's why
might need to have mercurius. Same with thuja. Thuja is used for genital wart. It is a specific for genital wart, but one does not need to have exposure to the two genital warts in order for a thuja to be needed. There's a little bit of crossover within the boxes, depending on the signs and symptoms. And you remember, it's always the qualitative symptoms and not the quantitative symptoms. You need the important symptoms, not just, you have to look at the very big picture. But one does not exclude the other, and we can't keep things in firm boxes because there's a little bit of crossover. I hope that makes sense.
Exactly, because acute disease will always give out certain symptoms, and that acute disease also we need to analyze separately from chronic one. We have to give another remedy for this acute form. Not always the same chronic remedy in the work in the acute of that individual. Many homeopaths have this wrong idea. A constitutional remedy will work in all formats in the individual, in the acute and the chronic.
But constitution every time change. Na, suppose that today's constitution is different. When you treat that, then second time the constitution is different.
Exactly. Constitution is dependent upon the surroundings of the person. The way.
Suppose I living in the Delhi or I got the disease. Like when I shifted in the Bhopal, that time is the why constitution is different.
Yeah, it gradually becomes accordingly.
So single constitutional medicine is not sufficient, no? People give the mostly single one time choice the single, or they always think this is a constitution of the patient.
Right. That is wrong. According to the Hahnemann concept. Hahnemann concepts are very factual, very logical. You need to think logically. You don't have to interpret and make speculations. So, I think
Thank you.
We are not just leaving the topic. We are on the same topic of organon, how medicines are more stronger than the natural disease, and how natural disease are conditional and remedies are unconditional. So we are on the aphorism.
Means we have to learn the two things. One is the conditional for the disease and unconditional for the medicine.
The action. Yeah.
Exactly that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
डॉक्टर संध्या आपके स्टूडेंट तो भाग गए सब
सर बच्चे
बच्चों को बोल देना हमने याद किया
जी सर डेफिनेटली जी सर आई विल कन्वे द मैसेज
या I think we should conclude now at this moment. Yes. Or do you have anything to say more, Tikwa?
Oh, no, I'm set. Yep, I'm set. Medicine in its dynamic range, dynamic medicine, not just herbs or whatnot. Dynamic medicine is stronger than natural disease, and dynamic medicine acts unconditionally in most people most of the time. But in natural disease, there has to be the perfect storm of situation plus morbific agent that makes people produce them. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next time, which will probably be next Thursday, I might hope. Sunday is the end day of Sukkot, so we won't be here then.